this particular, we started a discussion about the third unit, right? Let me switch on the full screen mode. And we were discussing about represent different types of surfaces as well as parametric representation of those surfaces. And last class, some of the topics were already discussed till the tabulated surface. So 1, 2, 3, all these things are discussed, like what is the need for surface modeling. First, we discussed and its applications and different types of industry types where surface modeling is being used, and it's very important. And also we discussed like the meaning of surface patch, which is part of surface patch is nothing but a small surface which is having a proper boundary conditions. If all the boundary conditions are properly defined, you can call it as a surface patch. Okay. And and how a surface would be represented, and parametrically, the main difference compared to a curve representation and a surface representation is, in case of curve representation, we were using only one independent variable like u. U alone would be there in case of curves, whereas in case of surfaces, along with you are going to use another variable, let us say v. So uv. So two independent variables we are going to play, and both the independent variables, I mean both u will have u as well as v, both will have its own. You can vary. There will be a range between minimum and maximum value. So by varying both the u as well as v, I can get. That's a major difference between a curve and a surface. So two independent variables we are going to play, which means x equation, y equation, z equation. All the equations can use up to two independent variables. Okay. And difference between a Cartesian space and a parametric space in case of a surface is also discussed. Like any surface, if you look at the corresponding parametric representation, even though the surface may be a kind of complicated surface, in reality, nothing but in the Cartesian space, it may be a complicated surface. But when you try to look at the corresponding parametric space, it looks like it will become a simple rectangle. Why? Because only parametric space always we consider only whatever the independent variables, only those things we consider as on x y axis. So here u in x axis, v in y axis. So as u as well as y both are having only, you can play only between a minimum and maximum value. So u looks like a straight line. The variation in the u and variation in v also will be another straight line. Of course, one will be horizontal. All the parametric space corresponding to a surface will become a simple rectangle. Okay. So, and similarly, and then we discussed about different types of surface entities, just like curve entities were divided into analytical curves and synthetic curves, right? Similarly, even the surface also can be categorized into analytical surface as well as synthetic surface entities. And coming to the analytical surface, plane surface and tabulated surface is also called as a translational sweep, right? And it's also called as a tabulated cylinder in some of the cases. So both these things were discussed in the last class. So today let us see how far we can talk about the remaining topics. Okay, and prior to that, let us have a glance of even the previous topics, these plane surface. So coming to plane surface, we already it's simply nothing but 3 points are sufficient enough. P1, P2, P3 are sufficient enough to generate any plane surface. So so out of 3 points, 2 points gives us kind of a straight line, and the other point gives us the direction in which I need to sweep this particular straight line. So here P1 and P3, if you can consider P3 minus P1 as a straight line vectorially, and P2 defines the direction through in which I need to sweep this straight line P3 minus P1. So, and whenever two directions are being used, one direction u takes care of one direction to vary to consider that particular direction. Similarly, for straight line, he is considering a parameter v, which means in order to generate a straight line, the v has to be changed from 0 to 1. Here v is changing from 0, and at p3 v is equal to 1, and along p1, let us say that is giving me the direction in which I need to sweep. So for this, he is using the parameter u. Even you can reverse it also, no issue. You just need to consider one independent variable for one direction, nothing more than that. So in this diagram, he is using u to direct towards the P2, towards the point P2. So by varying u value from 0 to a maximum value of u is equal to 1, I can I can get all the various points on P2 minus P1 straight line. So now if you say any point on the surface, so this particular point not only comes through variation of u, but also variation of v. So that's the reason this will be P of u comma v. Both variations will be considered. So when you're varying both u as well as v, which means you are actually getting you are able to generate the entire various points on the plane surface. Okay. So the corresponding parametric representation looks like a P of u comma v is equal to P1 plus P2 minus P1 would be applied to u parameter you are going to apply for P2 minus P1, that is, as here. Similarly, v parameter you are going to apply for P3. So overall together you can write of a plane surface like this, and you should also remember that u is varying from 0 to 1, v is also varying from 0 to 1, and the corresponding tangent vectors for surfaces. You do have two tangent vectors. One tangent vector you can get it by by derivating this above equation with respect to u. You call it as a u tangent vector, and another tangent vector would be with respect to v. By performing derivation with respect to v, you get a v tangent vector, and there will be a normal vector also. Whenever you have two tangent vectors, you know the procedure of simply the cross product of these two, cross product of these two, nothing but the normal vector. Okay, and now coming to the plane surface example, also we discussed in the last class. Given any 3 points, in this example 3 points are given, just like P1, P2, P3, how to generate the surface equation. Okay, so here you can get the surface equation. The parametric form you should subsequently divide into scalar form by writing x, y, z equations individually. Nothing but instead of P1 you get x1, P2, P2, P3 you get x2, x3 in case of x equation. Similarly, y, z equations do make use of the corresponding y coordinates. So all the three scalar forms will come in terms of u and v. So that represents the parametric equation corresponding to this particular plane surface. And depending on the question further, he is also asking you to find out the midpoint in this question, right? So if the midpoint is asked, you just need to substitute u is equal to v is equal to 1 by 2. Why? Because u and v both are varying between 0 to 1. So midpoint means half, 1 by 2. So by substituting u, v as 1 by 2 in the above xyz equations, scalar form, you can get the corresponding coordinates of the midpoint. Okay, as simple as that. And similarly, tabulated surface also we discussed, right? So in case of tabulated surface, there will be, you are going to use two curves. One curve you will sweep along another curve. So the whichever curve that you are trying to sweep, you call it as a generatrix, and the direction in which I need to sweep, call it as a directrix. You just try to understand, try to remember the meaning of the definitions of the generatrix as well as directrix. So the name itself is saying the directrix, right, which gives us the direction along which I need to sweep. Okay, one surface, for example, this particular surface, I can get it in two ways. Okay, considering this edge as a straight line and directing along a curve also I can get a surface. The same thing, considering the curve as a generatrix, I mean, I can alter both these things. I can alter simply both these things. Okay. By altering also, I can get the similar kind of surface. So, tabulated surface or tabulated cylinder do make use of two curves basically. Okay. One curve is called as x of u, another curve is uh, uh, so whatever the curve, let us say in this example, in this particular equation, whatever this particular equation that is defined, he considered the whatever the directrix that he showed here, he considered this directrix as the generatrix, which means he is considering this curve on xy plane as the generatrix, and he is trying to sweep that curve along in the direction of z-axis, which means whatever the picture that is shown here, he reversed. As I told you, you can get the similar kind of surface in both the ways. So he considered the curve on the he considered the generatrix as if it is on the xy plane. So whenever the curve is on xy plane, the curve xy coordinates are, the x coordinate you will have x of u, y coordinate you will have y of u. It is a simple curve, right? Whereas that curve I am sweeping along the z-axis. So z-axis, only the z coordinate alone will be varying. The z coordinate alone will be, I am inducing the z coordinate. What is lying on x, the point is simply x of u, y of u, comma 0. Z coordinate is actual 0. But that z coordinate, it is varying from 0 to that extreme endpoint after sweeping. This curve comes to the other end position, right? So that points, whatever the 0 value, that 0 will become depending upon the length of this particular straight line along the z-axis, how much height, how much depth I am sweeping. If it is, let us say, if it is L, the value is, the length of this depth is L. Okay. So in that case, from 0, it varies to L, from 0 to L. In between, what is happening from 0 to L? Okay, in between, I am going to use another independent variable called V, where V is equal to 0 at the beginning and V is equal to 1 at the end of the sweeping. So in that case, by making use of this variable V, what I can do is by multiplying, L with V, I can, and also by varying V from 0 to 1, now I can get the fraction of all the L, all the lengths. So that is how I can get any kind of point on the surface. Okay. Cylinder, in some certain cases, it's also called as tabulated cylinder. Why? Because as an example, if you want to get a cylindrical surface, you can take, instead of this curve, you can take a circle on xy plane and then sweep that entire circle. Circle is simply nothing but a curve, right? So circle will have its own x of u, y of u equation, which you already studied. Okay, r cos theta, r sin theta, all those parametric equations that you already studied. Only difference is, instead of you may be using some theta. So that circle, by considering circle as a generatrix, I can and this straight line along the z-axis, considering it as a directrix. So circle, you take it and sweep along a directrix. Whatever the circle that you are taking, that will be the curve, is nothing but the generatrix. So okay, I hope you are following. So by performing this action, I can get the cylindrical surface. Similarly, here you are taking a generatrix and let us say a straight line. You are sweeping along a straight line as a considering another direction as a direct drive. By taking a directrix, I can get another type of. All these varieties of surface I can get by using this technique, tabulated surface. Okay, so that is how you can play with this. And let us say if I want to ask some question, instead of this curve lying on xy plane, let us say the curve is lying on a yz plane like this. Let us say the curve is lying on a yz plane like this, and then trying to sweep this curve along along x-axis. If you want to perform this, all these things, if you want to perform such kind of surface, what will happen to the corresponding parametric equation? It is simple. When the curve is lying on yz considering the curve, considering the generator is lying on a YZ axis, means YZ, all these YZ coordinates do have Y of u comma Z of u, whereas instead of X of u, you will get this L multiplied by V. L multiplied by V will become the X coordinate, whereas the curve equation which is lying on YZ plane do have its own Y and Z equations in terms of u, So that how to write parameter and also by changing generatrix and directrix directions. I hope you are understanding. Now coming to the third variety of the play, this is also analytical surface only. The third variety of analytical surface is ruled surface. It's also called as loft surface. Okay, so this is one of the application is AC ducts. You can understand whenever you want to make a surface, whenever you want to create a surface between different cross sections, For example, if you consider this the cross section of this particular duct component, AC duct component. So here you can imagine a big rectangle. Okay, the cross section here is a big rectangle, whereas another cross section is a small rectangle. So this is it looks like a square, right? Okay, you can consider this is a big square and this is a small square. So if you have a big square and small square, and if you want to create a surface which is connecting both these, which is able to join both these cross sections, then this is one of the application to talk about the meaning of a ruled surface and or a loft surface. So leave about the entire here you can imagine 4 different surfaces, right? By combining both these cross sections, you can imagine this one surface, second surface simply, and similarly beneath one third surface, and behind you can imagine another surface, fourth surface. All the 4 surfaces, how all the 4 surfaces are generated, and what are the mathematics behind that, you can understand by understanding the ruled or loft surface technique. So leave about all the 4 surfaces. Let us try to understand one surface. Why? Because if you can understand one surface, the technique behind one surface, the same technique you can apply for all the remaining 4 surfaces, all the remaining 3 surfaces. Okay. Am I audible? Seems I got some signal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So in order to understand the technique behind, and here is there is a curve here, there is another curve here. So I am trying to, there are 2 different curves, and using 2 different curves I am trying to create a surface. That's what is clear from one surface. Okay, so the same thing here we are trying to understand. So there is a surface here, there is a curve here, P1, P2. Between P1, P2 there is a curve, between P3, P4 there is another curve. Okay, so totally we are using 4 points. You need to understand here is 4 corner points we are using as an input for this. Between P1 and P2, there is one curve which is represented by R1 of u. There is one curve. Being this is a curve, it is simply in terms of u. Okay, I hope you are understanding. Similarly, between P3 and P4, you can have another curve which is represented by R2 of u. R2. Both the curves are different. But both are curves only. And curves may be different. That's the reason the equation of this curve may be different, whereas the equation of this curve may be different. But both the curves are using one parameter called u. Why? Because here, if you consider point P1, u is equal to 0. Similarly, at point P2, u is equal to 1. So by varying u is equal to 0 to 1, and substituting those values in R1 of u equation, I can get various points depending upon this equation. I can get various points on the curve. Similarly, I can make use of the same u value. Why? Because simply I am using, I am just varying u between the same minimum and maximum values, nothing but 0 to 1 only. So by varying the same u values, but substituting in another equation R2 of u, which is coming from P3 and P4 points, by I can get the corresponding different points on another curve called R2 of u. This is another curve, but its equation itself is totally different. But only thing that we need to understand here is I am using the same u parameter. I am not using any new parameter here. I am not using any new parameter. Why? Because it is not required. Anyway, even if you use another new parameter also, then also you are going to use you have to vary from 0 to 1 only. So I can reduce all those things by simply making use of one single parameter u. Varying u, I can get various points here. Say varying u and substituting in this equation, I can get various points on P3, P4 minus P3 as well. So, okay, now these two curves I am trying to combine. Right? I am trying to create so many points in between, which will ultimately will become a surface. All the points together will become a surface. So in order to join these two, I need to I need to follow a totally different direction. So that direction, this curve, I need to sweep towards a P4 minus P3. So here I need to entirely use a new parameter. So that's the reason I'm going to use a new parameter called V, where V is varying from 0 throughout this P2 minus P1 curve. Throughout this curve, the V value will be 0 only. Throughout this curve, V is 0 only. And now starting from this curve, it is moving towards the P4 minus P3 curve, where V varies from 0 to 1. Being this is the end, being this is the end of the sweep, where I will consider V is equal to 1 for all the points on this curve. On this curve, every point do have V is equal to 1 only. Similarly, all the points on this curve, every point do have V is equal to 0 only. But in between, let us say, if you take any point on this surface, what is happening is there will be a point here, there will be a point here. So, which and this point comes through by varying u, right? By varying u is equal to 0 to certain point u. So, this point do have certain u value, and while sweeping towards this, any point, any generic point on the surface do have its own v value also. So it comes from by varying both u and v variables. So by varying u and v, both the variables together, what I can get is I can get various points by varying u from 0 to 1. Similarly, v from 0 to 1, I can find out various points on this particular surface, which is coming from blending one curve with another curve. I'm trying to blend one curve with another curve. So the equation, the parametric equation of this will become, so R1 of u. So this point is nothing but R1 of u. This point is nothing but R1 of u. This entire curve, nothing but in general, any point you can call it as R1 of u. Now this point comes from, if you take this point, this any point on this P4 minus P3 represented with R2 of u, right? And similarly, corresponding point here, R1 of u, right? So R2 of u minus R1 of u will become this straight line, this entire straight line, for which I need to apply, I need to multiply that R2 minus R1, I have to multiply with V. So the same thing he did here. R1 of u, this one is R1 of u plus this distance, I can get it by doing this task, R2 of u minus R1 of u multiplied by V. Like this, P of u comma V is equal to R1 of u plus V multiplied by R2 of u minus R1 of u, where the limits or just like the previous case, u and v both varies from 0 to 1. The same thing from this equation, by taking u as a common and v as a common, I can rewrite the same equation in matrix form. The final matrix form will become like this: p of u comma v is equal to 1 minus v multiplied by p1 p2 p3 p4 1 minus u. Why do you need to do this one? Is here I'm able to, this is a kind of a simple, this you call it as a v matrix, this you call as a u matrix, whereas p1 p2 p3 p4 are simply nothing but the points, p1 p2 p3 points. Okay, so this is the simplest form. So let us say if 4 points are given to you, and ask you to find out the matrix form of that, you can write this equation first of all, and then subsequently a scalar everything you can, any parametric equation ultimately you can simply rewrite into scalar form, which is nothing but x, writing different equations x for x, y, z. For example, if you want to write x of u comma v, this 1 minus v will be the same, this is same. Okay, this matrix is same. Only thing is p1 p2 p3 p4 are nothing but the x coordinates of the all the 4 points in the, by following the same sequence, nothing but x1 x2 x3 x4. This will become 1 minus u comma u vertically. Okay, so by now you can understand this is simply a 2 by 2 constant matrix, and by multiplying all these matrices I can get a x of u comma v equation, which comes in a u in terms of u and v. Similarly, for y and z also you can calculate a corresponding scalar. Everything comes on midpoint of this surface. Okay, in parametric space you can call it as a midpoint, even though in Cartesian space it may not be it may not be exactly a centroid, or you may not be related to centroid or center of gravity, but in parametric space any surface can be represented like a rectangle. For a rectangle you can easily identify the midpoint, right? So even here also they can ask you to find out the midpoint. So if they ask you to find out the midpoint, you just need to substitute u is equal to v is equal to 1 by 2 in all the 3 scalar equations, which will become a coordinate. Finally you can midpoint. Okay, now coming to the fourth variety of the analytical surface, you call it as a surface of revolution. Surface of revolution, the name itself is saying that by revolving one curve about an axis, about a straight line, you can get different types of surfaces, like all such kind of surfaces which you can get it by rotating one curve about an axis. All such kind of surfaces are called under surface of revolution, come under this category called surface of revolution. As an example, all these are different examples, right? Conical surface, how do you get it? So this red color one, this is the curve, which you are trying by rotating this red color line about the vertical line whose height is h here. Let us say the height also should be mentioned, right? For a cone, for any type of rotational surface, even the height also you should mention. Of course, the height you can get it directly from the straight line itself. So that height is represented like h, and our the radius is represented like r. Okay, so I can get, by rotating a inclined straight line about a vertical one, I can get a conical surface. Similarly, all the conical frustum, cylinder, and similarly oblate spheroid. Oblate spheroid, nothing but simple spherical surface means a semicircle. Instead of simply you take a semicircle and rotate about the diameter, rotate 360 degrees about the diameter, then you get a spherical surface. Whereas instead of semicircle, if it is a kind of a if it is a kind of part of ellipse, by varying major and minor axis, I can get a half of the ellipse, right? So for example, earth surface, it's not a complete sphere, pure sphere. So earth is a kind of a oblate spheroid, where the a value would be more than a c value. Similarly, if a value is less than c, You get another surface called prolate spheroid, oblate spheroid, prolate spheroid, and similarly part of such kind of spheroids you can call it as a zone. Okay, all are different varieties of surface of revolutions. Okay, now coming to the mathematics behind the surface of revolution. So basically what we are trying to do is, in all the surface of revolutions, we are basically taking a curve. Okay, this red color one, it's a curve. Similarly here also there is a curve. We are taking one curve and then rotating about a another axis. If you imagine this curve, let us say this curve is lying in x plane and y plane like this, then z plane would be like this. So let us say if the curve is lying in xy plane, then you are trying to rotating about a y-axis. By imagining the rotation of the curve about y-axis, you get this one. Similarly, the curve can also be rotated about a x-axis as well. Okay, you get another variety of surface, right? You get another variety of surface which I cannot draw here. Okay, so as an example, what here what this picture is showing is, here he is taking a curve. This curve which is lying in a xy plane, this particular curve, okay, which is lying in xy plane, he is trying to rotate this curve about x-axis. About x-axis he is rotating. Okay, you can imagine when you are rotating obviously about this axis, definitely you will get a surface of revolution. You will get a surface of revolution. For such kind of surface of revolution, we are trying to understand the mathematics, what is happening to such, when the curve is lying in xy plane and then trying to rotate about x-axis, what is happening, we are trying to understand. When the curve is lying in xy plane, let us say any point on the curve. I have to take any point on the curve, right, represented with the P, let us say the P. So the P is having its own coordinates xy, okay. It will, when the curve is lying in xy plane, it will have x comma y comma 0, okay. But here considering the curve, rather than considering the curve in xy plane, if you consider the curve in which is lying in another which is also having a z axis, which is also having some z coordinate, you know, then also I can rotate it. Then also I can rotate such kind of curve which may not be lying in a purely xy plane. Then also I can rotate about a x-axis. So in that case, the coordinate do have a x comma y comma, the point on the curve do have a x comma y comma z also. So that depends upon the curve equation. Okay, whatever the z value, if it is not lying in xy plane, then that z coordinate will come through the curve equation only. Okay, so now in general, he is considering xyz here, but if the curve lies on xy plane, then z coordinate will become 0. Here it will become 0 if the curve lies on a xy plane, if it will be actually 0. Okay, now in between what happens when you are trying to rotate, this curve, such a curve, when you are trying to rotate, what is happening? Let us say a point here, P. Try to understand what is happening to this P. What is this P? P is nothing but this point. What we are trying to do here is, we are trying to we are considering the curve is entirely lying on xy plane. Okay, try to understand. Even though the z is mentioned here, it is actually 0 when the curve lies on a xy plane. If it purely lies on xy plane, then it will be actually 0. So to reduce the confusion, what I'm going to consider is xy comma 0. You consider this as 0. Okay, I will tell you how z will be induced. I will tell you. So now try to understand about only xy coordinates. This particular point, what will happen to this particular point? Okay, look at here, and the point is having First of all, try to understand what is this diagram and this diagram. This is xy and this is z axis. This is z axis. So the same diagram, try to look at this particular diagram in the right side, from the right side. So right side view. So right side view of this diagram is this one. So this is actually right side view. First of all, be clear with the diagrams, which view you are actually seeing. So in the right side, if you look at this curve and one of the point on the curve, rather than talking about the entire curve, take one of the point. So that point P will appear here, right? It looks like it is appearing here. So this will become 0. This will become 0. So in the right side view, you can see y-axis as well as z-axis. So this is y-axis, this is y-axis, and this is z-axis, right? So this is right side view. So the P is a point which is matching to the 0y, okay, 0y line. So this point, when you are rotating a curve, so the pointer, any generic pointer P also rotates. So while rotating, what is happening to this pointer? So while rotating, when you are trying to rotate, means I have to consider angle, right? So here I am inducing an angle, I am inducing a new parameter called pi. Pi is a new parameter which I am varying from 0 to some maximum value depending upon your requirement, how much angle you want to rotate. Some people want to rotate by 30 degree, or some people want to completely make a 360 degree rotation. So whatever it may be, you will have certain minimum value as well as maximum value. So here pi is varying from 0 to certain angle. Let us say an angle of pi. Let us say an angle of pi. This angle is some pi. So what will happen to the point P when you are rotating the new position of P? Let us say it is denoted with P star. So what will happen to P star here is, now try to understand the x, y, z coordinates of a P star. X, Y, Z coordinates of P star. So initially the z coordinate is 0. Now coming to x coordinate, starting from x coordinate. So the x coordinate is the x coordinate varying when you are rotating P to P star. Look at the front view. Look at the front view. When you are taking a P point P and then rotating like this and then rotating by an angle of pi, and if you are coming to a new position called P star, now try to tell me, will there be any change between the x coordinates of P, x coordinate of P star? There will not be any change. There will not be, x coordinate will not be affected at all. Whatever is the x coordinate of this point, the same x coordinate will be there for P star or throughout. Even though you are rotating by any angle, the x coordinate will not vary. Why? Because you are simply rotating about x axis only. So when you are rotating about x axis, x coordinates will not change. What will change? The y coordinate will change. Why? Because when you are rotating like this, the height of this point is coming down. Height of the point is changing. It is the point is coming down, so y coordinate is changing. Similarly, z coordinate also varies. So here, when the point is lying in xy plane, z coordinate is 0. When you are trying to rotate about x axis, you are actually inducing some z coordinate also. Z coordinate is simply nothing but the distance of A to P star, and y coordinate is nothing but distance of B to P star. This is actually y coordinate, y star. I can call it as a y star. This you call it as z star. Okay. So now tell me what are the equations for y star and z star. It is simple. Let us say the 0 to P, the distance of 0 to P, let us say that is nothing but y, right? The distance of 0 to P is nothing but y. Are you following? It's nothing but y. Okay, x coordinate is not changing. We are done with x coordinate. X is not going to change at all. Even though you rotate this point about x axis, nothing happens to x coordinate. Whereas y coordinate, let us say initially the y coordinate of this P is y, the y coordinate of the initial point P is y. So this will become, this height is nothing but y. Why? Because the y coordinate is y. So nothing but when you're rotating, the radius will become y. Okay, this will become y. So which is nothing but O to P star is y. O to P star is y. So if this distance is y, what will happen to y star and z star? Y star will become y into sin pi. Y cos pi. Yes, y into cos pi is nothing but this distance. O to A is a y cos pi, and O to B is y sin pi. So this distance is y sin pi. This is y sin pi, and this distance is y cos pi. What is y? Y is distance from 0 to P, which is nothing but radius. You can consider the radius of this quarter circle. Okay, this is y cos pi, which means for any point P star, the x coordinate is not changing. If the original point is x, the same x will be for P star also. But if the y coordinate is y, P star, the corresponding y star will become y cos pi, and z star will become y sin pi. Means you can understand the equation here. X star is equal to x of u. Y of u is nothing. Okay, y of u multiplied by cos pi. I am applying cos pi. Okay. Similarly, in order to get the z star, I have to apply sin pi. Be clear. Let me know if you have any doubts here. Otherwise, I will proceed. Fine. So, what you should understand from when you are trying to rotate a curve, which is lying in xy plane, okay, about x-axis. When you are trying to rotate, the x star equation will be x of u only.
Sir.
Whereas y, tell me.
Sir, that range for phi it's between 0 to 2, sir. 41, sir.
Hello,
tell me. Range of phi is 0 to 2, sir.
0 to 2 pi.
Oh, pi, sir. Oh,
in this example, he is rotating by 360 degree.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I didn't see it clearly, sir.
Okay. It need not be 360 degrees. It can be any angle also. Sometimes surface of revolution, sometimes your requirement may be only up to by rotating 0 to 90 degree only. It may be any angle also. Whatever it may be, the corresponding minimum, there will be a minimum and a maximum value.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I didn't see the pi, sir. I thought.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Sir.
So, or simply you can write it like some 0 to some pi minimum also, no issue. So, and similarly, you also will have, for you, the minimum value will be 0 and maximum value will be 1. Why? Because u is, we are going to vary along while defining the curve, we are actually using the u parameter starting from u is equal to 0 to a maximum value of u is equal to 1. Okay, it's a curve, right? Any curve in generic form, it will have the minimum value, generally it will 0, maximum value is generally 1. So, okay, here example, he may be giving you like a u maximum also, and it may be given like a 2 pi. It need not be always the same. You can vary, okay, depending upon why. Because instead of a curve here, some people may like to consider a B-spline. For B-spline, the maximum value will not be restricted to 1. The maximum value can be anything depending upon the number of points, right? So even similarly, instead of 2 pi, it can be any other angle also, but it should not be more than 2 pi. Okay, why? Because what is the use of rotating some more than 360 degree? By rotating 360 degree, I can create I can make a complete rotation. Even if you rotate afterwards also, you are going to repeat the same operation again and again. You are not going to create any new surface. That's the reason the maximum value for pi would be 2 pi. In between, you can vary. Fine. Now, the one thing I ask you to remember here is, as long as your axis of rotation is x-axis, as long as your axis of rotation, this is axis of rotation is x-axis, you are going to affect y and z coordinates. You are going to affect y and z coordinates. X coordinate will not be affected at all. Similarly, if your axis of rotation is y-axis, then y star will be y of u only, whereas x star and z star would be applied with one would be applied with cos pi, another would be applied with sin pi, depending upon the clockwise and counterclockwise directions, as well as how you are measuring the pi angle, about which line you are measuring. Depending upon that, you can apply. You will apply for x star as well as z star when the axis of rotation is y-axis. Similarly, if the axis of rotation is z-axis, z of u will be z of u only, whereas x star and y stars will come with one will come with cos pi and the other one will come with a sin pi. Okay, for any kind of surface of revolution. So as an example, some of the surface of revolutions are mentioned here. Okay, I request all of you to so all these examples he considered the axis of rotation is x-axis only. In the diagram, it is shown like a vertical line, but he is representing the vertical line with x-axis. Try to understand this vertical line. He basically, the axis of rotation he is representing with vertical line, right? Here you can observe there is x, right? So the vertical line he is considering it as a x-axis. So that is the reason x, nothing happens to x. For example, if you take a circle, if you, for example, if you want to generate a spherical surface, for spherical surface, what I need to do is I have to take a semicircle and then rotate about a diameter. So if you consider this as x-axis, okay, if you consider this as x-axis, and we know that let us say this is y-axis, and this is some z-axis. So now the semicircle is lying on xy plane. Semicircle is lying on, whenever the circle lies on a xy plane, you know the circle equation, right? X of theta is equal to r cos theta, y of theta is equal to r sin theta. All these things you already studied during your second unit. So those equations, first of all, you need to understand those equations. Whichever curve you are rotating, that equation, first of all, you need to be clear with that. So now x of theta is equal to r cos theta, y of theta is equal to r sin theta, and theta is varying from 0 to pi. Why? Because for spherical surface, I just need to consider only semicircle. You don't need to consider the entire circle and rotate it. You just consider one semicircle and then rotate by 2 pi, rotate by angle 2 pi. So that for semicircle, theta varies from 0 to pi, So that's the reason theta is varying from 0 to pi only. Now, once you get the information about the curve equation, then surface of revolution, as discussed in the previous slide, only when you are rotating about x-axis, the x will be, if x of theta is equal to r cos theta, x of theta comma pi, which is nothing but the surface equation. The curve equation comes with only one parameter. The surface equations comes with the two parameters. Okay, that's the reason he is using theta pi as two individual parameters. So x of theta comma pi directly comes from the same equation. Whatever is the x coordinate of the curve, the same x coordinate equation will come for the surface also. Only difference is y of theta pi and z of theta pi, will come with whatever is the y equation r is equal to sin theta, sorry, r sin theta is the y equation, right, for the curve. For that r sin theta, for that r sin theta, you are going to apply cos pi, and for the same r sin theta you are going to apply sin pi. So by applying these cos pi and sin pi values to y and z coordinates, y and z equations alone, so look at all the equations. Only for y and z, you will get this pi term. That pi term will not appear in a x equation. Pi term comes only from the theta, whereas y and z do have both theta and pi. So the same thing is happening to all the surface of revolutions. I hope you are following. Okay. The discussion about analytical surfaces is over. Okay. So next we will talk about the synthetic surfaces, which will take one more class. Probably by tomorrow we can complete this third unit as well. Okay. Any doubts?